When you're working with wire, there are a couple things that you might need to use to manipulate it. Some wire is soft enough that you can bend it with your hands, but you'll get an even crisper and cleaner fold if you use pliers. These are just some basic needle nose pliers. We do have some full round pliers that if we're doing this in person, that you will be able to use. But the other tool is some wire cutters. These small ones are easy to cut through the soft wire with. If you're using a firmer wire, you might need to use a bigger pair. But I can cut wire very simply. When you're cutting, you don't want to hold it all the way out to the end of your hand because you don't have enough strength, or you won't have as much force on the tool. You want to hold it down in the curve of your hand and cut with the strength, with the bigger part of your hand. When you are manipulating the wire, if the pliers have little jaws or teeth in them, they will leave some marks in soft wire. But whereas this is for an armature and no one's actually going to get to see your wire, it shouldn't be an issue for it to leave some small marks. So you can bend it just about however you want. I'm holding with one hand and bending with the other. I am putting a fair bit of tension on it to maintain a clean line so that I take out any of those bumps. So I could do curls, I could do squares or straight edges by pulling it around the side of these squared pliers. If you're wanting to do something more circular, it generally helps to have an object to wrap it around. So I'm going to hold it with one hand and then wrap it firmly around with the other, and I can make circles. Obviously, if I need a different size of circle, I can just find something of a different diameter. When it comes to wrapping wire or joining it, you want to, so if I was going to make a hook onto this one, if I fold it just with my hands, I'm not going to get as tight or crisp or as sturdy of a hold. So would want to fold it over, but then also take my pliers and go back and squeeze it back on itself to tighten that loop down quite a bit. And then I can take and wrap it around. When you're wrapping wire, the closer you can keep your loops together, the better. The neater it will look and the sturdier it will be. Obviously with these ones, unless you have exposed wire or have planned to have parts exposed of your wire, you won't need to worry so much about the appearance of it, but you will want to focus a lot on making it sturdy. So make sure that you are anchoring things really firmly, and use pliers. Don't try and do it all by hand. It's not worth it. The biggest thing I would say is take a piece of your wire, and just a small piece, and kind of play with it a little to get a feel for the wire first. As you're building, it's totally okay if you have to unroll something, unwrap something, unbend it, and try again with that piece. So just know that that is okay to have to do. I guess the other thing I could show you with this is when I'm trying to anchor this back onto something, I can also tie it back on itself. So that sometimes helps make something sturdy. And I didn't get it terribly tight down to this, so right now it's still a little loose and slidey. But yeah, so you can bend things around. Obviously you can also just hook two ends together and twist them around. And again, sometimes this wire is soft enough, sometimes it's worth it to take pliers and go back and tighten that joint down so that it does not come apart. The other thing you want to tend to when you're working with wire is you want to make sure you're not leaving sharp pointy ends of things. So that might look like after you've joined something together, instead of leaving these pieces sticking out, you'll want to take your side cutters and you'll notice there's a V side and a flush side. And you're going to take the flush side and cut right as close to it as you can without losing your structural integrity. Trim off those pieces. Be aware they might go flying. I just heard one crash over there. It went that way. I'll find that later. And if you're covering it with something that will fully cover it, you don't have to worry too much about it. But I can show you in a later video. We can also use files or sandpaper to smooth over those end pieces.